So, following in the fine tradition of the Dremel router table review, I decided to give a review of the Microlux mini Scrollsaw from Micromark Tools. First thing to note out of the gate is that I don't think Micromark is distributed outside of the United States, so that might put some folks off, shipping costs being what they are. But for what it's worth, if you want a small, really handy hobby saw at anything other than a professional level, I will say from the outset this is a pretty fantastic saw. It's a reciprocating saw. You got an adjustable foot. Accommodates a large amount of material. Has quite a big throat on the arm, probably 14-15 inches, so you can put quite a lot of material in there if you want to do deep cuts. Two really nice features. It's got a rail, slides in here. Tighten that down. Put your material up against it and make nice square cuts every time. Down along the front here, we've got some millimeter measurements. So if you want to do fine adjustment, you've got some reference. You can move your rail along that, which is pretty handy. The other item it comes with is an angle guide. Slides in this nice machined track. Slides, lets you move your material forward, and then this unscrews, and you've got a protractor measurements around it. Tighten it back down. You can cut repeated angles over and over, which makes this thing super useful. I really like the fence and the angle guide, so you can do repeatable angled cuts. And if you're going to bother getting a saw like this to start doing construction, terrain, or anything like that, you want really repeatable, consistent cuts if you're going to measure it out, make your houses square and all that business. This is the tool for it. Your only controls are on and off and speed, which is pretty handy depending on what kind of work you're doing and what material you're cutting. So there's the slowest speed, and crank the dial up. Got a pretty wide variation on that potentiometer. How's it cut? Well, that's really up to the blades. Luckily, Micromark has a pretty good selection of them. They're varying price from $10-15 American for a dozen. A little bit cheaper for the less cheaper steel, I guess. And they do have some higher grade ones as well. So you get packs, different numbers of teeth, designed for different materials. So we've got wood, plastic, metal. So let's cut something, right? Set your foot just over the material. Get on the rail here. So this is probably 1/4 inch basswood. I'm not even sure I have the right blade in it for it. I'm just using whatever I last used, but we'll find out. Loosen this up, put an angle on it, do about a 60-degree cut. Plastruct. Take a nice shave a little bit off of this. We'll lower the foot first. That helps keep your material from jumping up. You want to get it just snug enough so it keeps your stock down. Plastic takes some time to learn how fast you want to go, so I cut it and also do it at the same time. Not exactly ideal. Let's try again. Still melted it. I don't cut plastic here that often, so I'm kind of out of practice. You really want to go all the way. You can even throw something a little more substantial at it. Some sheet copper. Again, this may not, I don't have a specific metal blade in here, I'm just using whatever I have. Probably the only close to negative thing I could have to say about this is changing the blades. It's not super easy. So you've got this compartment on the side. You open it up, it's where all your sawdust goes from the hole where the blade goes through. Just handy that it does collect it. And you got to get a Allen wrench and reach all the way inside. Tighten the little screw here. Tension screw holds the blade in on the lower half. There's another screw here that holds in the top. Now your blade is loose. Pull that out. This one's seen some work. The top part is getting a new one in. There's the head. The drive comes from underneath, so when the power's on, there's your reciprocating head. And getting the new blade in takes a little bit of finagling to get that head at the right height. So you need to slow it way down. Cycle it for just half a rotation until you find the right head height to wiggle the blade in. So we've got a new blade in there. Take some finesse, take some practice. They give you instructions in the book on how to adjust this bolt up here, lower the head, you can find the right balance between the head travel up top and the head travel down below inside the machine. Takes a few times. Once you get the hang of it, not a huge problem. I don't change blades that often, but the one I just put in there is another neat one I wanted to show off that adds some functionality to this saw, and that is a spiral blade. So it's twisted, the teeth run up. That way you've got cutting surface on essentially all sides as it reciprocates. They are more delicate, easy to break, and because they're twisted, they can be a little harder to line up inside to get the set screw to hold tight on it, but they're worth it. Investing a few in. So what can you do with a blade that cuts on all sides? Well, you don't have to take it back out. You can turn corners. and that's how you break a blade. Pushed it kind of fast, but you can end up with some pretty nifty little cuts, which I will show you on close-up. We got a nice 90-degree cut on our first pass. Then we set it at an angle. Nice and smooth 60-degree cut. There's the plastic that I melted. It's not super helpful to you, but let it be said, it'll cut plastic. You just have to learn to time it right. My cut off. And then here's what we did with the spiral blade. So you can see, turn 90 degrees, go backwards, forwards, turn again, all without taking the blade out. If you want to get really fancy, you can pre-drill a pilot hole, put your blade through that hole, and then install the blade into the saw, and you can do scroll work with no edge cuts. In addition to fancy wood cuts, edge cuts, scroll work, there's a nice clean cut you can see we got on the copper. So pretty versatile, especially with the right blades. Helps to have a selection of them. I'll put the links in at the end of the video. Micromark carries the blades as well as the saw. These seem to be from another company. There may be other more blades out there that have more specialties I haven't looked into yet. Those are the only ones that I use. Metal, spiral tooth, and a couple different ones designed for wood with different numbers of teeth. You can do a lot with the saw. As you can see, good for geometric work, building houses, terrain. I use it for custom base shapes with basswood or really thin gauge birch ply. The basswood, I like to make little terrain bases. You can see, just do a variety of shapes and take a, let's see if we can get that to focus. Nope, sorry. You'll have to take my word for it. Take a Dremel, sanding wheel, hit the edges with that, and bevel them down, put some flock on them, and I use those to make my forest elements, put base terrain, houses, anything you want, especially non-geometric. I like to do a lot of natural shape curves and stuff to base around a tower or a house or some sort of terrain element. Helps it blend in. Anyways, this saw does all that, and definitely recommend it. Comes out to, I think it's about $180 American, which is not a cheap investment, but I've had mine for 10 years and never had a problem with it. Broke a few blades, but that's gonna happen. So, oh, and despite not having mine tightened down, you can see it does have a nice bracket with screws and a little foot on there, so you can tighten it down and keep it attached to your workbench, and so it doesn't slide around on you, which is very handy. And I believe, nope, that is permanently attached. I don't think you have any option to take it off there. Oh well. Anyways, look it up, Micromark. As far as I know, they only distribute, they don't have any distributors overseas, so you're ordering, for those of you in the UK or Europe, you're ordering from the US. It's going to be a pricey toy with the shipping and the $200 price tag, but for what it is, definitely recommend it.